All right, somebody just handed me a card that says, the one and only time I saw my mother cry. My mother never cries. She didn't cry when my father died. She didn't cry ever in her life. She didn't cry when her parents died. She only cried one time that I saw in my life. I was 7 years old. I was in second grade. It was after school. I was home, sitting in the basement, watching TV, probably Gilligan's Island or something like that. It's only me and my mother in the house. My sister's next door playing with the neighbors' kids after school. I hear this sound coming from upstairs. It sounded like a siren. It was a very, very strange sound. It was a sound that I'd never heard before in my life. It was like this. Wah, 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 wah. Over and over and over again. Really loud. And I'm like, what is that sound? I mean, obviously it was coming from my mother because she was the only one in the house besides me. And I'm listening to it. I'm like, well, it almost sounded like laughing because it was like repetitive. Oh, yeah, wah, 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 wah. I'm like, is she laughing? I didn't know what was going on. So I decided to go upstairs and investigate. So I went upstairs. As soon as I got to the top of the stairs, I could see her in her bedroom from the top of the staircase, and she was crying. I mean, she was definitely crying. And she was sitting on the edge of her bed next to the phone, and she's just wailing, is crying, wow, 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 tears, red, everything. I'm like, Mom, what's going on? She goes, your Uncle Julius was killed in an accident. That's what she said. Your Uncle Julius was killed in an accident. I'm like, okay. So I went back downstairs, and then like an hour later, she said, go next door and get your sister because it's time for dinner. So I got my sister, and when I brought her back, I thought about it. I'm like, well, should I tell Judy about Uncle Julius or not? And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to tell her. So I told her on the way back from the neighbor's house. I said, hey, Uncle Julius has been killed in an accident. So she knew. So we get in the house. My father's home by this time. We're getting ready for dinner. We haven't mentioned Uncle Julius at all. Nobody said anything about Uncle Julius. And then the phone rings, and it's my cousin Debbie, Uncle Julius's daughter. And my mom picks up the phone in the kitchen, and she listens and she goes, he was murdered! And she falls to the floor. He was murdered. My Uncle Julius was murdered. I'm like, oh my God. I mean, I've never seen my mother ever in any kind of reaction like this, anything. And it turned out what happened to him was he owned an appliance store, right? And his customers were paying for their appliances by the week, like a Rent-A-Center. But this is like a long time ago, before Rent-A-Centers. So every Friday he would walk around the neighborhood and collect like $5 or $10 from all the people who lived in the area for their appliances that he had, sold them. And that's what happened to him. Somebody killed him. I mean, everybody knew him. I mean, he was the only white guy in the neighborhood walking around, on Friday afternoon with $200 in his pocket, and somebody shot him and killed him for that. It was on the news. Anyway, that was the first and only time that I ever saw my mother cry. Don't forget to read my book, Broccoli Time by Dante Ellen, the best parenting book ever written, available now on Amazon for only $3. Peace, love, and we're out.